So next up on the short wide Impreza is fixing the taillights. So the limitation that I have with this car is that because the back end is shorter, there is very little room behind the wheel arch. And in fact, the wheel arch wouldn't work the way that it is, except this car sits extra high. So this car doesn't really tuck its tires in the fender like a lot of cars, which saves me a little bit of hassle. What I had done is I had taken the stock tail light and I had built a new garnish on the bottom of it and cut the lens down to where it had no reflector on it and got it to where it sits pretty well in the hole, but the problem is this transition here. How do I do something with this that looks right? So my solution, which is even less conventional than that taillight housing change, is that I found a different taillight. This is a Mazda 323 from 94 to 96-ish. In Europe, this is the Familia F, I believe. And I'm going to make this taillight fit the car. I am going to have to do a little bit of reworking of the fender, but the fender is ugly anyway, so it doesn't matter. And I am going to have to redo the edge of the trunk lid. So this is the idea. I'm going to get this taillight to match where I want the fender to end, and the fender has to have this inner panel because it is going to be the mud guard, essentially. So there is an inner fender well already. I made that in a previous video. I may have to modify this slightly, but this is the line that I'm aiming for on the side of the car. And I could put the taillight all the way in here, but then I have to roll the fender in to meet it. So I'm going to put the taillight right to the edge of the fender like this, and then rework what's around it. So in this video, I'm going to take the taillight and I'm going to build a backing plate for it out of metal that will use the factory M6 studs, and I will shave the top of the taillight down. This is just a little bit of plastic trim to meet the original fender. So I'll make that as flat and smooth as possible, and then I'll work on mounting the light to the existing metal, keeping in mind I have to have access to the back of it to get the screws or the nuts off, and I have to be able to put bulbs in from the back. So that's the idea, and I'll see how it goes. have the new taillight backing plate built. It is trimmed to the edge of the light. The rest of it is not trimmed yet, as I don't know exactly how I'm going to transition from the Subaru to the plate to the edge of the light. But the light is going to fit here. It does follow the body line of the car pretty close. The way I picked this light is that I went to the junkyard and took the light out of an Impreza wagon and walked around and looked at all the cars of all the different makes and models, American and Japanese and Euro, until I found something that was very similar in contour but did not go as far forward, and it happened to be the Mazda 323 light. And I probably could have cut the back corner of the car out, but this is a DIY thing, and not everybody's going to want to, graft in a whole piece of a car, which I've done. Like on the 83 Civic, I swapped an entire front unibody from an Integra, and in the back I swapped the entire front unibody from a TL, and that's pretty involved, and so would swapping a whole corner of a car. And it's easier to do if you do it in pieces. It takes longer, but it is easier in a way. So what I have to do now is trim up the original taillight housing from the Subaru, and I'm going to keep some of the original metal and then trim the rest of the metal away to where I have real easy access from both sides, so I can get this light to sit in here. And truth be told, it would probably be better if I left it down a little bit like this, because I have to remake this section and the back part of this fender slightly. And there is normally a trim on the bottom of this. If you look at the Subaru light versus this light, it is almost exactly the same, but this light is slightly taller. And with the trim panel on the bottom of it, the light lines up even with the bottom of the trunk lid. So to save having to build several different pieces, I may just put this light right here and have the bottom of the light line up with the bottom of the trunk lid. And of course I can always change the bottom of the trunk lid because I have to build a custom bumper anyway. So I'm going to take a few minutes and look at it and see what I like the best and figure it out. So I got the new taillight tack welded in place. It does not meet anything at all. Everything around it has to be built, but it does line up with the bottom of the fender, and it lines up with the bottom of the hatch, and that'll allow the bumper to have a real smooth transition. No step, it'll just be a direct fit. So as I had it originally, I'm going to have a pocket here that'll go from the fender to the edge of the light, which has the metal backing on it. And up here I can now rework this corner the way I really wanted to make it before, and make it a lot less bulged right here, and have all the bulge up here in the fender and much less here. It will still have a little bit of a pocket transition before it goes to the back of the car, but this way I can take this all out, which was hard to make and it was obnoxious and I don't like it. So now I get to do it like for the 8th or 10th time, whatever it is. But it'll match the trunk lid or the deck lid or hatch, however we want to say it. And from the body line to the light, I get to remake that. And I left just a little bit of the original lip where the trunk lid closes, so the new hatch lid opening area will fit, and then the rest of the light will be pretty normal. I didn't get the transition from fender to trunk lid line perfectly underneath the Subaru line of the same type. But it's close enough that I can make it all fit, and it should look right. If I have to, what I can do is put a slight lip at the edge of the fender and have the entire taillight tuck underneath it. And the way that's done is that where the holes are for the bolts for the tail light, I can elongate the holes to where the light goes in, and then I slide it up and then tighten the nuts on the back of the studs. And everything will fit right, and it'll hide my little transition. Now, it looks like the light is probably back too far, but again, I have there's a black plastic edge on the light, and that'll allow me to tuck the light in slightly, as I was going to do with the Impreza light, but this light is a lot better and fits how I really want it to. So I'll take some shots of the other angles. So here is the light from the side. You can see it does line up with the hatch lid mostly. Needs a little bit of adjustment, of course, because it's not from the same car. But overall, the shape is better, it fits better.